What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down the wide receiver and DB matchup between Tyreek Hill and Sauce Gardner from this past weekend. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it can give you some value. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver or a quarterback and would like to train with us, myself, and my staff of coaches this offseason, check out that very first link in the description below. We're going to be traveling out to 13 more states across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. Next up on our camp tour, we coming out to Phoenix, then Charlotte, Dallas, the DMV, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles. So very first link in the description below, fellas, if you want some more information on how you can sign up, what we'll be covering, we'd absolutely love to have you there. Let's get started. So this first route here is going to be Tyreek Hill coming across the formation in motion, and he is going to be running a fade route versus a form of zone coverage from Sauce Gardner. So let's play this full speed. So he's coming across the formation anytime that we have to run a fade route. I don't care how fast you are. I don't care what type of wide receiver you are. You have to make sure that we threaten this DB to the inside. So the reason why Tyreek Hill got this route kind of locked up here is because when Sauce Gardner's off in zone coverage, number one thing that DB's responsible for in zone is don't get beat deep, especially if it's like cover 3 or cover 4, right? Cover 2, different scenario. He's in charge of the flats, man coverage. He's going to be pressed up looking at us. But cover 3, cover 4, he's trying to force everything to the inside and do not get beat over the top, because that is his zone, that is his responsibility. So as a wide receiver, I need to know that. So anytime that we have zone coverage, and how we know it's zone coverage from a DB is his eyes are to the inside and his body is turned. We know that he has something called a blind spot. So when you're running a fade route, you want to try to slip to that blind spot. But here's the thing, especially if the DB's in outside leverage. His sole purpose when he's in outside leverage is to protect the outside. Like I said, don't get beat deep and force everything to the inside, because that's where he probably has safety help. So as a wide receiver, if I just try to take off and go run, or I don't threaten him to the inside, all a good DB is going to do is just keep his leverage and squeeze me to the sideline. And that's exactly what Sauce Gardner does right here. So he runs off, he gives him kind of like a weaker move to the inside and gets squeezed to the side. Even if he had him beat by a step, because Tyreek Hill could beat anybody in the NFL by a step, we are still probably not going to get the ball, because that is an incredibly tough throw for any quarterback to make. I don't care what level you are at. So what he should have done in this specific situation to try to threaten Gardner with the post, try to get him to crash on the post maybe a little bit, is close the space a little more and give a harder fake to the inside. They call that a vertical set. A vertical set is where you run up, and you see he kind of does it. It's just there's too big of a gap between the two of them, and he doesn't sell the cut enough to the inside. Now, again, Tyreek Hill's one of the best wide receivers in the game. For top 3, arguably, maybe even one of the best, right? But again, even the best make mistakes. I don't make this to critique him, because I don't really think he cares about my opinion. I make this to provide value to a younger wide receiver who makes this same mistake. You got a fade route against zone. How do I run this against zone? So I'm going to play this again full speed, and then we're going to be talking about the correct way to run this fade route against zone from a different example, and then we'll get back to the Sauce Gardner-Tyreek Hill matchup. So we look at this example here. Same idea, except this wide receiver is not coming off in zone. But we have outside leverage, and how do we know that it's zone coverage? DB's eyes are to the inside, and he's turned to the inside. So if I were to run a fade, we would want to close the space, give him a hard fake to the inside, they call that a vertical set, then slip to that blind spot. So I give that QB some space, but I could also get him by a step or two. So let's play at full speed. Let's watch what he does. Closes the space, vertical set inside, and you see the kind of space that opens up for this wide receiver to the outside. DB's number one priority in zone, don't get beat deep. But if I can threaten him to the inside, move him off that platform, and actually sell, that's what can get me some space to the outside so I can beat him deep. So when we go here, again, same idea. Close the distance, gives a hard vertical set to the inside. When you give that vertical set move, it's essentially like a hard cut, if you will. Like you're running a post, like you're running a corner, an out route. So your hips and shoulders have to sell the movement. We actually have to step hard. We got to step outside his frame, and we got to threaten this DB with my upper half. All of those things, because remember, in zone, he's not necessarily looking at us, right? He's not necessarily like playing us man-to-man, watching our hips. He's kind of going off a feel. He's got his eyes to the inside. He's trying to see what the number 2 is doing. He's trying to see where the quarterback's looking. When we give him that hard fake to the inside and we really commit to it, he has no choice but to somewhat honor the post. And that's what can get him off that platform, and that's what can accelerate me back to the outside. So now make sure also, fellas, when we're running this fade against zone and we give that hard fake to the inside, let's keep my head down and let's pump my arms so I could get some space. I want to get open, but I also want to be able to stay open when I'm running that fade against zone. Don't look back for the ball right away, as that's just going to allow that DB to recover. So let's play it again full speed. I just wanted to show you guys that good example of what maybe Tyreek Hill could have done better in that situation against Sauce Gardner to set him up on that fade. So now, next example here, this is kind of a press coverage look from Sauce Gardner versus Tyreek Hill. So now, Sauce Gardner's outside shade press. Tyreek Hill is going to be running a 10 to 15 yard out route, right? I don't know exactly what the depth is in their playbooks. That's why I say 10 to 15. But same principle applies. He's outside shade press, just like outside shade zone. Just because the type of coverage changed, right? We went from zone to man coverage. His responsibility is still the same. And so many people play Tyreek Hill like this because what's the biggest fear with Tyreek Hill? Getting beat over the top. So they're trying to prevent the outside route. They're trying to prevent the fade. They're trying to prevent an out route, a corner route, anything where he could get some space. They're trying to play him outside leverage, force him inside to the help, and just don't give up the outside. So as a wide receiver, my mindset needs to be, okay, I'm going to take what he gives me. I'm going to take the inside release, and I'm going to get some separation at the top of the route. So that's what Tyreek Hill does. So he takes the inside release, he's pushing up fade. He's doing the right type of move. He's trying to slip under, but Sauce Gardner locks it up. So what did he do wrong on this? So anytime that I got a guy who's outside leverage, like I said, taking the inside release, whether you're running a post, whether you're running an out, whether you're running a corner, you should be able to get separation regardless of how he's playing. Top of the route is where you get separation. Off the line is how you keep timing and spacing. Because a lot of people think that, if you're running a 10-yard out, you got to force the outside release, right? It's a must outside release if it's an outside route. But get this, he's not going to give up the outside, especially a disciplined DB like Sauce Gardner. So if we try to give him a fake here and run out, all he's going to do is just get hands on me, squeeze me to the sideline, and when you break to that out route, you ain't going to have any space. Just like that fade route that we talked about. When you don't threaten him enough, you're not going to have any space to that blind spot. Just like on this. You threaten his inside shoulder, try to take outside release, you ain't going to have enough space. So taking the inside release was perfect here. So now, my number one goal as a wide receiver in press coverage on any route that's probably deeper than 5 yards is to stack this DB or restack this DB. So I want to be able to dip my shoulder, stay in a low pad level to where I get over the top, and this DB is trailing my back hip. Because then if I got to run an out route, I'd give him a hard fake inside. I could give him a 1-2 at the top of the break. I could peek back, act like it's a fade, then run the out route. Now, if I don't restack him, and that's everybody's biggest fear when they're running an inside release on an outside breaking route, what if the DB's right at my hip? What do I do? So at the top of the break, you need to have a plan. As a wide receiver, you come up to the ball, you got to have a plan of action. He's outside shade press. All right, I'm taking the inside release. I'm working to restack. But if he takes that away, at the break point, I'm going to drop down, change my pad level, and slip underneath him. They call that a throw-by move. Now, when Tyreek Hill does this, when you have a lot of speed like Tyreek Hill and you get a lot of momentum going downhill, it is tougher to cut that way. That's why you see a lot of guys, especially at the collegiate level, who are blazing fast, who do not maybe have the greatest technique in the world. They struggle getting in and out of breaks. They make up for it by having crazy speed and being the fastest on the field. But when you get to that next level, whether you're a high school guy with blazing speed or a college guy playing next level NFL, every single guy that you're playing against is insanely fast, great athlete, and has great technique. So little details matter with your route running. So when Tyreek Hill makes this cut, again, he's doing the right things. He's dropping his hips. He's doing everything correct. But when he drops down, he gets a little too far ahead of himself with his chin and with his chest. His chin kind of goes past his knee, and his chest goes past his knee as well, essentially like leaning too far forward. So when you have a lot of speed into the break and you drop down, but you almost kind of commit a little bit too much to dropping your hips and getting low, that will cause a drift on the route. So when you're trying to slip under a DB and you're dropping your hips down, guess what happens when you drift forward? You give him time to react and he could just open up and make this play. Now, was there maybe a little bit of a jersey grab? Absolutely. Now, is the referee going to call that? Probably not, because we didn't make it obvious that he was grabbing my jersey. Now, if Tyreek Hill would have put the brakes on and been able to stop, drop his chin to his knee, sit his butt down, and have that violent change of direction like we see so many wide receivers have. And Tyreek Hill does do that. I'm not saying he doesn't do that. This is just one of those reps where you maybe get a little too far out ahead of yourself. And I know a lot of younger wide receivers have this same problem. But if he puts the brakes on and he takes that inside hand and tries to swat by, right? What that is, you put your hand on the back of the shoulder, the elbow, or the hip of the DB and try to slip under. And he's grabbing your jersey, it's going to really look like he's grabbing your jersey, and that's when we'll probably get a call. But if we drop and we don't swat him by, and you see how Hill tries to, but he misses, that's when they ain't going to call that. They will not call that at the top of the break. So let's play this full speed. Then I'm going to show an example of Garrett Wilson doing the same type of release, doing the same type of route, but the difference in hip drop is what I want to talk to you guys about. So let's look at Garrett Wilson here. He's got outside shade press, and he is going to be running a 10-yard out. So let's talk about the differences here. He comes off the ball, tacks outside, inside release, but I want you to pay attention to how he's able to snap down on this break. So when he drops, you see it's the same type of break that Tyreek Hill was doing. But you see how his chin is to his knee. He is sitting his butt down. So what do you think that's going to help him do? Make a sharper cut. He's not going to drift upfield into the DB who's right on his hip pocket. Now, again, was this DB a little bit further ahead of him than Sauce Gardner was? Absolutely, he was. But again, if Garrett Wilson at the top of the break is way ahead of himself, chest goes past his knees, chin goes over his knee, like way over his toes, I should say, and he drifts, he's going to drift right into this DB. But when we have an explosive hip drop, and that's what Tyreek Hill had too. He dropped his hips. He was violent with the snap. But when you have speed, the technique matters so much. Because when you can put the brakes on, you combine speed with good form, you make a really sharp and a really explosive cut. And that's what can set you up when you have that outside breaking route versus outside shade press. You got to take what he gives you. And again, in that same example for Tyreek Hill, he did everything correctly. But that little detail at the top of the route is what made him lose. And I say that for all the young wide receivers watching this. We focus a lot on football IQ. We focus a lot on knowing what to do, how to run certain routes. Okay, I got this coverage. I need to run this route this way. I got this coverage. I need to change my route up now. When you know what to do, but you can't execute because you don't have the technique, you're still going to get locked up. Just like if you have great technique, but you don't know when to use it, you're going to get locked up. The greatest route runners, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill as well. They know what to do, but they also have great technique at the top of the break, so they apply both, and that's the name of the game. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job by Wilson showcasing how that snap down should look and how you could slip under a DB. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys got any questions at all, please don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, we are going to be traveling out to 13 more states this offseason for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. So if you guys are local to one of those cities and would like to come out and get some work in with us, check out that very first link in the description below where you can get all of that info. I'll see you guys next time.